The Ledger Flex is a hardware device designed to store and secure your Bitcoin and other digital assets. But is it the best option out there for you? Today, we're going to take a look at how to set up and use the device, as well as the positives and negatives of using it. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session. So what are you going to need in order to successfully navigate this tutorial? Well, you're going to, on top of your device, of course, going to require an application that can either be installed on your phone or on your computer. For the beginning of this video in particular, I'll be utilizing the computer, although this device does, of course, pair with your mobile device simply via Bluetooth. Other than that, a knowledge of how to send and receive Bitcoin transactions is an asset, but I will, of course, just walk through kind of the basics of that. And then finally, I'm also going to show how the Ledger works with alternative software. So I'm going to be using something called Sparrow Wallet on my desktop computer as well, just to demonstrate that you don't have to use Ledger Live all of the time if you don't want to use their software in day-to-day transactions. Outside of that, you should be good to go. So let's dive into setting up our devices. So let's start by taking a quick look what is inside the box here. We've of course got our device. Take a peek at it. Now the display is e-ink, okay? So that's why there's something on here and it can just remain. The side, there's a button here, not much on the back. And then there's a USB-C port on the side, on the opposite side. That's pretty much it. That's the whole device. What else is inside the box here? You've got your recovery sheet. So with any Bitcoin wallet, there's going to be a set of words that you write down in order to back everything up. So they just provide something like this to write it on. And you've got a couple of these kicking around inside the box as well. There's some other documentation here. Let's take a look. Again, just use care, all this kind of instruction manual stuff. And then, of course, down at the bottom here, we've got your cable. And this is a standard USB-C to a USB-C cable. So if you've got different ports, then you may need a little dongle for it, but most things now are USB-C anyways. So there you have it. Most of what you need is right here in front of you, these three things. So now let's take a look. We're going to check out Ledger Live on our computer. We'll take a look on the phone momentarily as well. So the Ledger Live software can be grabbed, of course, from the App Store on your phone, or for your computer, you're going to go to ledger.com, and under apps and services, you'll see Ledger Live here. And this is the page where you would download it, and it has options for different operating systems. Make sure that you please do go to ledger.com. Do not Google this because there are often phishing sites that will pop up that will allow you to download malicious software, which is never a good thing. So I have already downloaded and installed Ledger Live here. It is up and running, and so we're going to hit get started. So it says help us improve and personalize your experience. Now, I'm not big on giving data away where possible, so I'm going to hit refuse all. Then it says, what is your Ledger? Of course, they have a variety of different devices. In this case, we're using the Ledger Flex, so I'm going to hit select there. Then it says connect to your computer using the USB cable, and so I'm going to do so here. Now, if you notice, my USB cable is a different color from the one we originally saw, and that is because I just needed a longer one for reach, and so this is what I had available to me. So we can see we are booted up here. It says we're going to do a genuine check and OS update. It's telling me the same thing on both. So I'm going to hit on my computer, check my Ledger. And then it asks, do you want to allow a connection with Ledger? I'm going to hit allow on the device. I'm getting a green check here, and it does let me know that there's an update. So I'm going to click on update my Ledger and then install update in the bottom right. Okay, and then it lets me know that I want to, of course, hit install on the device, which I'll now do. Okay, and I can see on the device I'm good to go, and here on the software I can hit finish. I'll hit allow again to allow the connection. And there we go. So we can continue with our setup. So I'll click next. Now we're going to set the name of the device. You can bypass this, but we'll do it. And I'll just call it SESSIONS. That looks good. I'll confirm the name. Now I'm going to tap on my device to continue. Now I'm going to be choosing my PIN, 4 to 8 digit code, and it will unlock this device so that if somebody does stumble upon it, they're not able to just get in, no problem. So tap to continue. And we're going to, it lets us know that entering the wrong PIN 3 times in a row will reset the Ledger to factory settings. So it's important that number one, you remember your PIN, but number two, that you have a good backup. And we'll take a look at how to do that momentarily. But first, let's choose the PIN. For this example, we're just going to use a simple PIN. You'll notice that it scrambles the keypad every time. This is just a privacy measure so nobody can kind of take a look at your fingerprints or take a look at your general movement of your fingers and guess your PIN. Okay, after entering it twice, the PIN is set. Tap to continue. Next, we're going to choose how you'd like to set up this Ledger Flex. Tap to continue. A new one, or would you like to restore? We'll come back to restore in a little bit. We'll see how that process works, but for now, we're going to set up a new ledger. Okay, this will generate my secret recovery phrase. If you'll recall, there's that sheet that we're going to use for that specific purpose. And it's going to be a sequence of 24 words, which cannot be changed or chosen. Tap to continue. If your ledger is ever broken, lost, or stolen, these 24 words are your only way to recover your wallet. So I want you to know that these are literally the keys to your money. Anybody that gets a hold of these words has full access to your money. And I'm just going to make this a little larger on the screen here. Anyone, again, who knows the secret recovery phrase can steal your assets. For your wallet security, do not store this digitally. So don't take a picture, don't enter it on a mobile phone, anything like that. That is all not good for security because people can get digital accounts compromised all the time. So physical copies only. Okay, so now we're going to write down our 24 words. It's going to give us the first 4. We'll write those down, hit next, and we'll continue doing that all the way through until we've written all 24. Having written down all 24 words, I get to the end, I hit done, and then it's going to ask me to confirm. So I'm going to either hit start confirmation or see the words again if I'm uncertain if I've written them correctly. I'm going to hit start. And it asked me to select word number 1, which was elbow. So I tap that, and it's going to go all the way through. All right, all the way through. It now says my recovery phrase is confirmed. I'm tapping to continued. It says your secret recovery phrase is for your eyes only. Again, don't share it and don't lose it. Now you're in control. Tap to continue. There we go. We're going to continue setting up Ledger Live. Or the Ledger itself in the Ledger Live app now. Okay, so in Ledger Live, it now says the Flex has its own apps. You need them to transact. So I'm going to click Install Now. And it gives me some options here, but I definitely want the Bitcoin app. So when I click that, it's going to begin installing on my device. Now, I did not ask it here to install the Ethereum app, but it is doing that. So if I can, I'm going to remove that after the fact, but that maybe I clicked something I didn't intend to, but away it goes. So we'll deal with that afterwards. Okay. Okay. Yeah. It seems they really wanted me to get that Ethereum app, which I would like to remove. Nonetheless, okay, so now this is encouraging me to use something called Ledger Recover. I do not want Ledger Recover. I will touch on this at the end of the video. So let's see. I don't want to start a free trial. I don't want to find out more. I think there's an X up top. Okay. All right. So next, use your Ledger Flex to transfer assets, buy crypto, customize the lock screen, or subscribe to Ledger Recover. I don't want some of these things. I'm not going to be buying from here. We can leave the lock screen for now. And again, we will take a look at transferring money in momentarily. I'll just click, I'll do this later down at the bottom here. And we are set into our main screen of Ledger Live, and we will examine what's in front of us. Okay, so first up, I'm gonna remove the Ethereum app on this device. And so the way I'm gonna do that, and just to get us centered here, we're on the main screen of Ledger Live. It says portfolio, and down the side we have market, which will show us prices of whatever assets we hold. There's a discover section. Of course, we have accounts, send and receive. Those are blanked out currently. We will add those momentarily. Earn, that's in and around staking assets and things like that. Buy and sell, swap, all of that. Referring friends, they do have a card, Ledger Recover, bunch of stuff not necessarily going to pertain to me, but down at the bottom where it says My Ledger, we can click there. This shows the app catalog of different, again, you can add all kinds of different coins here. What I want to do is I want to remove an application. Now, if you are looking for other applications, there's going to be plenty here that you can play with. But I'm going to go to the second tab that says Apps Installed. It gives me the option to click on the trash can for Ethereum, which I will do now. And that should remove it from my device. Now, the device does keep locking on me. I think it's got a short time frame. If it does, you just tap the button on the side and then type in the PIN. Okay, so let's try that again. Okay, perfect. So I've now removed an application. We're good to go. And we can begin by setting up an account for Bitcoin. And so let's just go back to our main screen here. And from the main screen, we could have done this from My Ledger where we were looking at the Bitcoin app, but we can also do it from the main screen. Either way, we're going to hit Add Account. We're going to click here and choose the asset in question, which is Bitcoin. We'll hit Continue. And now it says, do you want to open the Bitcoin app on my device? I'll hit Open. And so at this point, it's going to check if there were any existing accounts that have not been, or that have been utilized previously. And if it sees some, it will bring those up. However, this is brand new, so it will just default to this account, which I can rename. And you can call it whatever you want. So you can just type in or change it completely, but I'll leave it as Bitcoin 1. I'll hit Add Account. And then if I want, I can add additional accounts, which will keep funds segregated for me if I have for different purposes. For now, I'll just leave it be. I'll hit Done. All right, so we are now on the main screen. Again, this is the portfolio screen. Once you have set up the accounts that you want, you will see a total balance right here. Now, it does also have trends and swaps and all these different things. I'm primarily not interested in that. I'm just looking to secure my Bitcoin. So if I'm not looking to be looking at all this extra stuff, then I would just go to the accounts section over here on the left. It will show me any accounts that I have, and I can click on Bitcoin itself. And this is where we have receive, buy, and once we do have funds in here, it will also have a send button for us too.
Bitcoin Well is the best place to be buying and selling Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And now with Bitcoin Well Infinite, it's also the best place to be making large buys at their OTC desk of over $50,000. Their white glove service gives you fast transactions, no slippage, and the lowest fees. You can scan the QR code on the screen or simply head to bitcoinwell.com/BTC sessions to sign up today. And you can share your own personalized referral link to earn commissions. Are you ready to level up your Bitcoin mining game? Mining Disrupt is the world's largest Bitcoin mining conference and expo, and it's happening March 25th through 27th, 2025 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Network with industry leaders, discover cutting-edge hardware, and gain insights from world-class speakers. Plus, enjoy exclusive events like the Cigar Lounge and pre-party social for meaningful connections. I'll be there, and I'd love to see you. Use the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen right now to receive 20% off your tickets. Don't miss out. CoinKite has been in the game for years, creating hands down the best and most secure hardware when it comes to securing your Bitcoin. The Coldcard Q is an absolute powerhouse and my daily driver, and it's ideal for newcomers and advanced users alike. The Tap Signer gives you a low-cost, user-friendly option for those just getting started or for convenience when traveling. You can head to coinkite.com and use code BTC Sessions for discounts, or simply scan the QR code on the screen to get started right away.
Now, I'd also like to familiarize you with a number of things on the ledger itself. So let's just take a quick look and navigate our way through here. When you are utilizing Bitcoin, you need to have the Bitcoin app open, but at the bottom there is Quit App, and this will take you back to your main screen. The bottom left, there is a settings wheel. And so when we go in here, you have the ability to take a look at a variety of different options. Again, you can rename the ledger itself, which we did when we initially set up, has some about information. This is that lock screen thing in question. It does have an auto lock and it's set to only 2 minutes. So I'm going to bump that up to 5 because it was turning off a little too quickly for my liking. And that it has the auto lock. If you turn that off, then it will never auto lock on you. If we go back here, sounds, this is just, there's tap sounds and notification sounds here for you if you like them. Language you can set. If we scroll to the right, you can change your PIN. Now, when it comes to Bluetooth, this is on by default. If you don't want it to have radio communication and stuff like that by default, ideally this would be off by default because some people just may not be aware. But if you do want to turn it off, then you just tap it here. You can also remove previous pairings if you want to do that. NFC, if I tap here, again, on by default. If you do want it off, then you got to manually do that after setup. Regarding the battery, again, it lets you know battery percentage. You can always display the percentage if you want, and you can have it auto power off after certain periods of time if you like. And then under advanced, this is where that's the default where it shuffles the PIN, the digits, so they're in random places. And then you can also use passphrase protected wallets, which we'll touch on in a little bit here. So that is the general navigation. To get out of here, just X in the bottom left, and you're back to your main screen. There is an add app button, but you do, of course, have to have Ledger Live open in order to use that functionality. Now, just a little bit more exploring in the top right of Ledger Live. Let's just take a look at some of the settings available to us. There's a general section where you can set things like your currency and your language and your region, the theme of the app itself. You also can sync your ledger across multiple devices, aka your balances and accounts. Again, market performance widget. I'm going to turn that off. I don't need extra noise for me. I like it simple there. Password lock. So password lock would protect people from viewing your balance here in Ledger Live. Just remember that that wouldn't be a worry when it comes to somebody spending because they still require the device to do so. Bug reports, going back to Ledger Live again. If you're privacy conscious, you might want to turn that off. Otherwise, you can leave it. Analytics, personalized experience. I have all that off. I don't want data going where I don't want it. Accounts. Again, you can save your operation history. This is pertaining to a lot of altcoin stuff, but token accounts and all that kind of stuff doesn't really pertain to anything that I'm looking at. The about just gives you the version number and terms of use, etc. Help. This is support in and around a bunch of the stuff, troubleshooting, device setup, all of that. It also gives you the option to reset Ledger Live entirely. And then experimental features here, developer mode, different things like that. In particular, something that jumps out at me is the option to use your own Bitcoin full node. And we'll maybe touch on that in a little bit. So other than that, we're now going to learn how to actually receive and send Bitcoin with your ledger. Okay, so we want to receive some funds into the ledger. So I'm on my accounts tab here. I'm going to click on the account in question and I'm going to hit receive. It does again ask me which account to credit. I only have one, but there would be a drop down menu here if I clicked and I had multiple. So I hit continue. Now the device did default to lock, so I'm going to tap the button and I'll type in my PIN to unlock it. And then I'm going to open the Bitcoin app and I'm going to hit retry. Okay, so this serves me up a Bitcoin address on the screen. It says a new address is generated for every transaction. That's standard practice now. And it does give me the address. It also gives me the option to show a QR code. On the ledger itself, it says that it wants me to verify the Bitcoin address. And so I swipe to the side and I'm going to double check that the address here on my computer is the same as that on my device. And I can hit confirm. So when I do that, it does make the address disappear, which is actually not what I like. I'm going to go back because I actually need that information in order to receive. So again, when you swipe here, it will show on the device itself on the ledger, but don't hit confirm if you haven't yet copied the address for your uses. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sending directly from an exchange. So I'm going to copy this address. I'm going to jump over to my exchange here. This is Bitcoin Well. They're in Canada and the US. Super easy place. They never take custody of your Bitcoin. So all you need to do is provide them with a Bitcoin address. And as soon as you send them money, then they convert that and send Bitcoin directly to you. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on my addresses. I'm going to add one and we'll call this Ledger. And I will paste in the address that I've copied, again, confirming on my device it's the same one. And I'll add that in. On Bitcoin Well, that now becomes my default receive address. And then this is just a little calculator here. So if I'm buying a certain amount, it'll let me know how much Bitcoin I will get for the dollar amount. The cool thing about this is as soon as I send money to my special account here with the designated information, it will know it's for me and it will auto send me the Bitcoin. So I'm going to jump ahead. I'm going to do that bank transfer and we'll come back in a few minutes when that has gone through and landed in my ledger. So just a few minutes later, I can now see that I have received some funds and there are changes on my screen here. So I can see a Bitcoin balance. I can also see down below it a dollar balance and a per Bitcoin price beside it. Here below, there is also the state of this particular account and how the balance changes over time. So obviously, I just set up this wallet, but it shows the most recent date and it going up with my first deposit. You can change these time frames here to 1 week or 1 day or 1 month or 1 year or all time. And then down below under latest operations, there's a transaction listed. So I can click on that and I can see all of the details of those transactions. So I can see the amount, the fee that was paid to get the transaction to me, transaction ID, the address it came from and where it went to myself. And there we go. So I've now got a balance and we can now test sending Bitcoin utilizing our ledger. All right, so let's say I want to spend some of my Bitcoin sometime later. I come back and I want to utilize my balance. Now, I will make a little note here that it says it's not confirmed down at the bottom. Bitcoin transactions take on average 10 minutes to be confirmed. However, I did check, it has actually been over 10 minutes and it does have a confirmation, meaning that this transaction is officially on the Bitcoin blockchain. However, it seems that the Ledger software will default to not marking it as confirmed until there's been multiple blocks of transactions added to the ledger. Nonetheless, I'm still able to spend. It'll just give me a little, hey, just so you know, this might be able to be reversed, which I'm not worried about right now because it's coming from an exchange I know and it's a self-transfer anyways. So with that said, let's go ahead. We are currently, and we'll just recenter ourselves. Let's say you had just opened up Ledger Live. It bumps you here. You would go to your accounts. You would click on the account you want to spend from, and you would hit the send button. At this point, we need a Bitcoin address to send to. I can either paste one or I can click the little QR code option here, which will then open up my camera so I could scan something from my phone if I wanted to. I actually do have a Bitcoin wallet open here called Sparrow Wallet. We'll be looking at this again in a little bit and using the ledger with it just to see how that works. But in the meantime, I'm on my receive screen and I've got a Bitcoin address pulled up. So I'm going to click on that. I'll go back to Ledger and I'll paste that in here. And I'll just double check that the address here is the same as the one I copied. I made note of the last few digits. Looks the same, so I'm going to hit continue. Now at this point, it says, how much do you actually want to send? I can designate that in Bitcoin, or I can tap the dollar amount and I can type in the dollar amount that I want to send. Now, it's a little bit tricky here in that it says maximum spendable amount is 0. However, if I do type in an amount in dollars, it will allow me to type that in. I can then choose my fee. So I'll put it to fast. I hit continue. It does allow me to construct a transaction. So we'll see if it allows me to spend even though Ledger isn't considering my funds fully confirmed. But we'll give it a try anyway. So I hit continue. Now it lets me know that I need to connect my device. And it's going to ask for my PIN again. And I need to open the Bitcoin app. Okay, so on my device, it says I'm going to review the transaction and I swipe to review. So I'm going to swipe. It says, hey, you're sending this amount of Bitcoin to the following address with the following fees, which is what I set up here. And I can see that it looks to be correct. So I'll swipe again. It does give me the option to reject. And then if I want to sign and approve, I'm going to hold the check mark on my device. The progress bar goes all the way across. And it's now signed. and it will auto broadcast. So the transaction was sent. So again, a little bit confusing where it tells me I don't have money to spend, but then allows me to spend it. But there we go. And then here in Sparrow, I get a notification, hey, you've received a transaction. If I go over to transactions, I can see I've just received right here. So it did indeed work. A little bit of confusion there, but nonetheless worked no problem. And we wouldn't get that kind of mixed messaging if the transaction from my receive was fully confirmed. And I believe that would just take, another 15, 20 minutes, something like that, before we would see that messaging. So nonetheless, we were able to send after having received into our ledger by plugging in, typing in the PIN, and approving our transaction on the device. Okay, so I also want to show the ability to pair your ledger with a phone. I've got my Android phone here. Of course, it's available on iOS as well. And Ledger Live has been downloaded. Make sure that when you're in the App Store, you check it's actually from Ledger as the developer, not somebody else. So I'm going to open up the Ledger Live app here, and we'll see what it's like to actually pair. Okay, so we're greeted with this screen. We're going to hit Get Started. We're going to accept we're going to refuse all. I don't want to share personal information here. And then we're going to, now, of course, we've already gone through the setup. This ledger is already set up, so it's not new or reset. If you went through this process, yes, you would pair it to your phone and then go through a similar process to what we went through on the computer. But we're just going to access the wallet. Just know that if you're starting from scratch, choose the first option for yourself. I'm going to hit Access Wallet. I'm going to say connect your ledger. We're going to add it with Bluetooth. I'm going to allow. Now it does ask about location information. I don't know how necessary to the use of the ledger this is. I'm going to say don't allow, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, so yeah, so this is another thing that I'm not a huge fan of. Precise location permission required. It says it does not access your location. Ledger does not access your location information. It requires precise location permission to pair your device through Bluetooth. Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'll say while using this app. Okay. So it does see the ledger here. I'll select that. It'll say pairing. It does say that I need to, let's put in the PIN, make sure. Okay, so again, you probably need to have the device unlocked, so I'll do that again. Seize the device. There we go. Okay, so it says I'll hit pair and connect. I'm not going to do call history. No, don't want that. I'll say yes, they match. Okay, and so that is it. Now let's say stay in the Ledger Live app and keep your ledger nearby. Okay, we'll hit allow to allow the secure connection. Okay, it is mentioning the Ledger Recover service again. Again, I don't want this, so I'm going to X out of it. I wish I could turn that notification off, actually. There, turn notifications on. So if I want to allow notifications, this would be transaction related, but it says, oh no, get the latest updates on Ledger Live, Ledger products, market, personalized recommendations, opt out anytime. I'm going to say maybe later. No, thank you. Okay. So what we have here is we have buy and receive or add an account. So it's unaware of my account. It won't by default load it. So I'm going to add an account now. I'm going to use the Ledger device. Ledger Sync. Let's see what that says. So if you have a lot of accounts in your Ledger account, Ledger Sync will allow you to create a QR code from Ledger Live on your desktop, which you can then scan with your device or your phone rather, and relay the information. However, I'm just going to use the connected Ledger anyways, because I just have a singular account anyways. So I'm going to click Use Ledger Device, and I'm going to tap to connect. It's going to scan for any existing accounts. So I guess it needed to install an application, perhaps, to communicate. I'm not positive what is being installed right now. Okay, so installed Ledger Sync. Okay. So let's try opening that. Use this app to sync your accounts on Ledger Live across different phones and computers. Connect with Ledger Sync. Make sure to use Ledger Live only on a trusted phone or computer. Okay. So I guess I'll hit turn on sync. Okay. Close that notification. I guess I'll quit that app. To be honest, I'm not sure why it added Ledger Sync here. Okay, so maybe what I'll do is I will tap on Bitcoin and I'll hit add account. We'll use the Ledger device. Okay, so this is giving me something different again. Let me go out again. Okay, let's try hitting add account using the Ledger device. Okay, this now gives me the option to add a Bitcoin account. So I had that before. The reason I'm going through this step instead of the sync is because I only had the one account and it's easy to do. So I'll just hit open the Bitcoin app. All right, so you'll notice that it sees the existing account that I've already been using. It lets me know that I can, let's see, edit the name, which I don't want to do. So I'll just leave it as Bitcoin 1. And I think that's it. So it says that I have the option to add a second account, but it's not seeing any other accounts with activity. So there we go. If I want to add accounts with different address types, it will show different options there. And it does give me some information about this address types. I'm going to leave that be. I don't need anything different. I'll just hit continue. And because the top account had a check mark beside it, it has added that successfully. And so I can go ahead and I can go into specifically my Bitcoin account. Let's go back out and just kind of recenter ourselves so that we know how to access. Okay, so here we are back on the main screen of Ledger Live for our mobile device. We see our a balance in dollars, and we can see, again, our history. Much like in the desktop app, we can change it to 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, whatever. We have buy and swap, we have send and receive, we have earn, all those various things. Again, primarily just concerned with the send and receive. And then we have our assets listed below, of course, just Bitcoin and allocation. That would be if we have multiple assets, then that would show the split down there. If I go into Bitcoin specifically, this is where, again, I have send and receive. This is kind of where I will be primarily dealing with it. We have our accounts down below. I can hit add new and navigate between those accounts. And it shows, again, Bitcoin market price over different time thresholds and previous transactions from earlier today. I can also tap on a specific account and it will just show me stuff pertaining to that account. So again, the hierarchy is we have an overview of our portfolio as a whole, which we're just dealing with Bitcoin, so this doesn't pertain as much to us. We have Bitcoin, the asset itself as a whole. And then down below, we have this separate accounts of Bitcoin, of which we can have as many as we please. And we can then go into specific accounts. If I had more than one, then I could divvy that up as I see fit. So there's our general look here. Now let's take a look at spending. I'm going to go out of the Bitcoin app here in my ledger, and we'll just leave that here. And we're going to test sending a transaction. Now up on my computer, I do have the tutorial wallet that I was using up, and I have a receive address ready, but we're going to test sending from the app. So I'm going to hit send. Again, you can paste an address, but it gives us an option to scan a QR code. I'm going to do that. I'll allow the camera. I'm going to scan what's on my computer right now really quick. And that imports a Bitcoin address. It does tell me to verify the address matches the one that I mean to send to. It does. I'll hit continue. And then how much do I want to send? So I'm going to... let's see here. I'll type a dollar amount here. Well, I had $60, so I'll type $30 here. And then I will hit continue. If I did want to send it all, there's a use max button. So I continue. This gives me a review of what I'm doing. And if I want to set my fee, I can hit slow, medium, or fast, or I can customize it if I want to set a specific amount. I'll go with fast. I'm going to hit continue. And it says, hey, you need to connect your device. And do you want to open the Bitcoin app? Yes, I do. Again, if you don't have that Bitcoin app, again, it might give you an error. I'll hit retry here. Okay, so it's going to show me my transaction on the ledger now. Okay, review. So I'm going to swipe as I did before. This much Bitcoin going to this address for this fee. If it looks good, I can swipe. And if I want to approve it, hold to sign. Progress bar goes. Okay, and I can see transaction sent, set it on the ledger. It says it on the mobile device. If I hit close and go back out, I should be able to swipe down to refresh, and I see my balance updated. I also see the most recent transaction going out listed down below.
Debify is the best and easiest way to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Funds are held in a multi-sig escrow where you hold a key, and the platform allows for excellent hardware like the Coldcard Q and the Q. You have access to flexible conditions, the best rates, and institutional-grade liquidity. If you're looking to make use of your capital, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. You can head over to debify.com to check them out, or simply scan the QR code on the screen. Securing your Bitcoin doesn't have to be complicated or invasive. With Nunchuck's Honey Badger plan, you get state-of-the-art multi-sig with built-in inheritance planning and no KYC required. Nunchuck is trusted by users to secure billions of dollars in Bitcoin. The Honey Badger plan offers 204 assisted multisig, guiding you step-by-step on mobile or desktop. It works seamlessly with hardware wallets like TapSigner, Coldcard, Jade, and plenty of others, so you're always in control. Plus, with non-KYC inheritance planning, you can ensure your Bitcoin goes to your loved ones. No private info needed. Take control of your Bitcoin today. Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen to check out the Honey Badger plan. Looking for a simple and secure way to manage your Bitcoin on mobile? Aqua Wallet has you covered. It's user-friendly and puts you in full control of your Bitcoin with secure self-custody. Aqua also supports Lightning and Liquid Network, making fast, cheap Bitcoin payments and asset transfers easier than ever. Plus, it even supports stablecoins, giving you ultimate flexibility. Built on open source code, Aqua is transparent, trustworthy, and perfect for beginner and pros alike. Ready to upgrade your Bitcoin experience? Click the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen now to download Aqua Wallet today.
Now, it is very much recommended that anytime you set up and are going to use a hardware device to secure your money, you practice recovery. And what I mean by that is wiping the device and using your written words to recover the access to your funds. So we're going to do exactly that. And we're going to just do this on the device. We're going to wipe the device. So you can do that by going down bottom left, choosing settings. You're going to go to the right and to the right again. You're going to choose reset. Now, this is going to reset the entire ledger is what we're going to do. Again, this will be factory settings back to normal with no apps or anything. I'm going to hit reset. I'm going to enter my main PIN and check mark. And this reboots the whole device from scratch. Tap to continue. Everything is done here. So at this point, I can go through the same setup process that I did up to a point. And then it says, hey, we're going to set up the device. Now, the setup device, I can do it without Ledger Live for the time being initially. Ledger Live is still required when it comes to updating the firmware on this device. Okay, so I'm going to set up without Ledger Live for now. Again, it says it's recommended to do with the Ledger Live. And again, to keep up to date, that's what they say you should do. But I'm going to skip it for now. I'm not going to set a name for this. We'll just bypass that. We're going to choose our PIN, same thing as before. And with the PIN set, we're now going to, instead of setting up a new ledger, we're going to choose to restore. We can restore with a recovery phrase or restore using your ledger recover subscription. I'm not using the second option, but we can check out the recovery phrase. Now, how many words do you have? We had 24. And here it gets you to type in your words. So first one was elbow, and you notice as I type, it eliminates letters that it couldn't possibly be. So then it shows elbow as an option. I can tap on that, continue through. I'm going to do this for all of my words, and then we'll jump back. After having put in the final word, it says secret recovery phrase confirmed. I can tap to continue. And again, it gives me the same warnings about how important this is. Do not share. All of that. There we go. Use the Ledger Flex with Ledger Live to manage your assets. Of course, you could use it with Sparrow Wallet or something alternative as well. But there we go. We have recovered, and using this in concert with our software, we can now continue managing our accounts that we had already previously set up with the Ledger. Now, I do want to show a feature which is a passphrase using your Ledger. And so what this does is it creates an entirely different wallet from your main wallet that can be hidden, and there's no indication that a passphrase wallet even exists. So I can hit the settings wheel in the bottom right, or bottom left rather. I'm going to go over to the right here, and I'm going to choose advanced. Then I see the option to set a passphrase. When I do so, it says I can set a temporary passphrase. That's where I would type one in to access this wallet. Or I can set a passphrase and attach it to a new PIN. So what are the differences and trade-offs here? So with a temporary passphrase, you would type this, and then every time you want to access it, you would come to this advanced menu and then type it again to re-access that wallet. With a passphrase attached to a PIN, when you boot up the device, you simply type in a different PIN and it would access a different wallet. Now, here's the major trade-off. You still need to remember what the passphrase was that you originally typed. You cannot forget it, because then if your Ledger device were to, crap out on you or stop working or whatever, and you went to recover, sure, you've got your words that you wrote down on your recovery sheet, and you may know the passphrase related PIN, but the new device that you recover onto may not be aware of, or actually will not be aware of, what your original passphrase was. So if you're going to be using a passphrase and you're not typing it in every time and you're instead attaching it to a PIN, make sure you've also written down your passphrase and stored it somewhere, perhaps apart from your backup sheet. So let's take a look at temporary passphrase, how that would work. So again, when your Ledger powers off or locks, re-enter the passphrase to access the associated accounts. Tap to continue. and you would create a passphrase. So maybe A, B, C. Again, that's a bad one, but you get the point. Whatever I want to type can go there. It could be numbers, letters, uppercase, lowercase, but it is sensitive to all those things. And if you have one letter off or one number off, it won't tell you you have the wrong passphrase. It'll just take you to the wallet that would be associated with those letters and words, and it would just be empty. It wouldn't be the correct wallet. So make sure you're going to remember this. I'm going to hit continue. ABC, is this correct? It's double checking this is the correct passphrase I want to use. I'll say yes. Again, forgetting your passphrase will lock you out of your funds. I understand. Make note of that. Enter your main PIN to confirm your passphrase. So this is the PIN we've already set up before. Okay, so my temporary passphrase is set. So what would I do next? Well, at this point, I would jump back to Ledger Live and I would utilize Ledger Live to import this particular account. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so I'm in accounts. I'm going to choose add account. Now I'm going to choose Bitcoin as the type of asset I want. I'm going to hit continue. It's going to prompt me to open the Bitcoin app on my ledger, which I will do. At this point, it's scanning for accounts, but we've added a passphrase. So with the passphrase attached, it's almost like a different device in a way. It's providing different accounts that Ledger Live has never seen. Because of that, it allows me to add an account, the first optional account, and I'm going to maybe type pass just to differentiate it. I wouldn't mention passphrase in the label for it if I were you, but label it to something that you'll recognize. I'm going to hit add account, and then I'm going to hit done. So let's take a look at the difference between these two accounts. Account number one is the one without the passphrase. It's just the regular ledger. And here we can see a history of transactions. If I go back to accounts and I click on this new one, there is no transaction history. Nothing has happened in this wallet yet. So it is protected by the passphrase and it is hidden without knowing the passphrase. If somebody were to get a hold of your words that you wrote down, your 24 words, if they didn't know the passphrase, they would not be able to access this hidden account, nor would they even know that it was there. Whereas your main account, if somebody got a hold of your words, they would be able to access it and see the entire history of it. So that is why you might use a passphrase. Now, I'm going to jump back to the ledger again for a second here. And actually, I'm going to reset or restart the device. So you hold the button there. I'm going to power it off. Screen is dark. I'm going to power it back on. And we'll type in our regular PIN. Let's go back into that advanced screen for our passphrase. This time, I'm going to set my passphrase and I'm going to attach it to a PIN. So we'll choose the top option and I'm going to do the opposite PIN. I'll do 4321. It'll ask me to do it again. And then it says, what passphrase would you like this PIN to lead to? I'll just use the same one that we typed in manually last time and hit continue. ABC, is this correct? Yes. Again, forgetting will cause a loss of funds. Absolutely. Enter your main PIN, not the new one, the main PIN to confirm this change. Okay, so that has now been changed. So what happens now is that anytime I want to access my regular wallet, I type in my regular PIN when I boot up the device, 1234. However, again, I should take this out just to kind of show. Again, if I turn off the device and power it off, and I turn it back on, if I type in the PIN for 3, 2, 1, my passphrase pin, it actually takes me to a totally different wallet. It takes me to the ABC passphrase wallet that we set up before. And I'll now be able to approve transactions with the ledger for just that specific wallet. But it's really important to differentiate. If you've got passphrase wallets and non-passphrase wallets, depending on whether you have the passphrase enacted, will depend on which wallets you can approve transactions for. You need to be logged in properly or add the passphrase manually in order to approve transactions for your passphrase wallets. So I want to showcase how one might use the ledger along with Sparrow Wallet if they prefer to use a different interface other than Ledger Live. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to here in Sparrow Wallet. And by the way, if you're curious about Sparrow, I have a full tutorial linked in the show notes down below. I'm going to hit New Wallet. We'll call this, actually, we'll call it Flex because it's the ledger Flex. And we'll hit Create Wallet. This brings us to a seemingly scary looking screen, but it's not really that bad. We're going to simply choose Connected Hardware Wallet. This will bring up a little pop-up that allows us to scan for anything connected. Now it does see the ledger, but we get an error. Why? We don't have the Bitcoin app open. So we got to make sure we have that open because we're dealing with our Bitcoin account. Okay, once we have our Bitcoin app open, I'm going to try that again. Connected Hardware Wallet, scan, and now it sees the Ledger Flex. I can hit Import Key Store. This is going to fill in a whole bunch of different information here, and you may not see it right now. I'll move it over a little bit, but there is a blue Apply button in the bottom right there. So I'm going to hit that blue Apply button. It does ask if I want a password. This would just, again, as with the Ledger Live, protect the balance information, but it has nothing to do with spending. You still need the ledger for that. So I'm going to hit no password. And then my entire left-hand bar here turns blue. We can go over to transactions, which is kind of like our home screen. And we can see the same balance information that we saw in the other Ledger app. So we have our amount here. Now note this is in sats. This is a setting that you can do in Sparrow, but if I tap on it, it will show me in BTC. So there are 100 million sats in a Bitcoin. I prefer looking at sats rather than decimals. And it shows me my dollar value as well. You can also see updating information as transactions are confirmed. We get notifications and everything, but this will function much the same as any other wallet. What I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to open a second account that I have, not from the ledger, but a wallet that's just on my computer. So I'm going to do that now. And so this is a second wallet that resides just on the computer. It's a hot wallet. It's not cold storage like the ledger, but I'm going to practice sending from my ledger to this other wallet. So I'm going to go, I have my ledger selected up in the top on that tab where it says Flex. That's what I labeled it. I'm going to hit send on this wallet. Where do I want to pay to? I could paste in a Bitcoin address. I could click on the camera icon to scan a QR code. Or within Sparrow, I can choose this drop-down menu and it'll show me other wallets that I have open, like my tutorial wallet. And it'll automatically grab a receiving address from that. So I will give this transaction a label. We'll just say it's a test transaction. And I can also designate an amount I'd like to send in sats or in BTC. So I'm going to just send the max this time around. And then I'll adjust my fee. It's a slider here rather than buttons. I can go back and forth. I'll just leave it as is. And then again, you can't quite see, but I'll drag it over a little bit. There's a blue button in the bottom right that says Create Transaction. So I'm going to do that. It gives me a summary of what I'm doing. Hey, you're sending this Bitcoin from here to there. I can click on Finalize. And now it gives me the option to sign. Again, blue button, might not be able to see. I'll drag it over. But I'm clicking that sign button. Now this brings up a little pop-up where it sees the ledger It says it's unlocked. If it does say locked, then I might need to tap on the button and put on my PIN again. I'm going to click on sign. This is now going to prompt my ledger for me to approve, much like I've done with the other apps. I swipe to review, sending this much Bitcoin to this address for this fee. Swipe again, and then I hold to sign. This gives me an approval, but with Sparrow Wallet, it actually prompts you and it gives you one last chance to decide if you do want to sign. There's a big blue button here. It might be covered a bit, but it says broadcast transaction. This is your last chance to potentially say, oh, wait, I want to change something. But if you don't, you can click that blue button and off it will send. Okay, and we get 2 notifications because we see the money going out of the ledger and into our tutorial wallet. Now in Sparrow, every time you set up a transaction, it creates a new tab for you, which you can X out of once you're done. On the ledger, I'll go back up to my transactions. I see that transaction going out. If I go to my tutorial wallet that I sent to, I can see that test transaction coming in. So everything executed as normal. One side note though, if you are using Sparrow Wallet, you will need to have Ledger Live closed on your computer. You cannot have them open simultaneously. Reason being, it confuses the device. The device doesn't know which interface to connect to. So you're going to run into problems where it's just not going to recognize it and it's not going to know how to deal with 2 pieces of software requesting it to do things at the same time. So let's talk about my thoughts and experiences with the Ledger Flex. And I'm actually re-recording this because I did it before and it ended up being 17 minutes long for this section. So I'm going to really try and streamline it and get my points across as quick as possible. Number one, the device itself has a solid build. It looks nice. It feels nice. The size is good. The touch screen is good and responsive. I like the e-ink. It actually works pretty well and easy to see. Pretty easy to operate, single button to turn on, single port on the side for charging and or plugging into a computer. So that part is great. The apps themselves are easy to access, download, and link up to the device itself. So no major problems there in terms of understanding how to use and execute sending and receiving Bitcoin with my ledger. Furthermore, I do like that I can use it with options like Sparrow Wallet because those tend to be my preferences when dealing with the device. Now, those are some of the positives that I had. I want to dive into some of the negatives, or at least some of the things that I think are worth considering. So, number one, when you have a device that supports a variety of altcoins and is constantly adding more and more and more, with greater complexity comes greater potential attack vectors. Now, Ledger will say you can just download the Bitcoin app and not download others, but the fact remains this device is always capable of hosting that software. And because of that, you could be opening yourself up to something. I'm not saying for sure you're going to get hacked or anything like that. I'm just saying it's a consideration when looking at this device. Other devices will offer Bitcoin-only firmware, which disables altcoin functionality. Still, other devices come out of the box Bitcoin only and do not support altcoins at all, meaning that if you're saving in Bitcoin, you get kind of the least complex, most secure option. So take that into consideration. When it comes to the firmware and the software that you use with this device, unfortunately, it is closed source, or at least not fully open source. There are little parts of it that are open source, but by and large, you can't get a good picture of what this device is actually doing under the hood. Same with the apps, or rather the software that you use, the phone app and Ledger Live software. That is not ideal. It's not something that I like in terms of when I'm trying to secure my funds. I prefer it when it's open source. Even though I may not have the skill set to go and audit the code myself, I know that there are eyeballs on it, constantly checking and seeing that things are operating as promised. Furthermore, let's talk about Ledger Live itself. Some devices will have a dedicated app that you can use.
Other devices ship and they don't have any dedicated app, and then it's up to you to choose which other application you'd like to pair with. In Ledger's case, of course, they have Ledger Live. You must use Ledger Live in order to set up and update this device with firmware anytime you want to do that. Of course, you can then use something like Sparrow Wallet after the fact, but anytime you want to set it up or update the firmware, you're roped back into the Ledger Live ecosystem. In terms of Ledger Live itself, again, easy to use and everything, but there's a number of things that I would prefer if I could at least just turn off. So the whole altcoin ecosystem and the pop-ups, not pop-ups, but like the banners and stuff that are encouraging me to swap and stake and look at the market of this coin, and this one went up and this one went down. It's meant to encourage a certain type of activity and attitude, and that mannerism and those tendencies are, in my opinion, speculative in nature. They're trying to spur you into trading and staking and earning yield and trying to do all of these different things instead of just, securing your wealth. And I'm not a huge fan of that. The other thing that I'll say in regards to the Ledger Live software and how you use it in relation to the device is you cannot air gap this. And what I mean is when you air gap something, it means that you could set up and use the device having never plugged it in or directly connected it to something that is then connected to the internet. And the benefit with that is that you don't give control of the device housing the keys to your money to something that is on the internet. And as you saw through the setup, there were instances where I was like, oh, wait, why is it installing the Ethereum app? Well, because the Ledger Live software automated that and told the device to act. Why did it install the Ledger Sync app? I didn't realize that I was doing that, and it did it. Again, because it was prompted by the software that it was plugged into with my computer. When you're air gapping something, you take information from your computer, you relay it to the device, and you must then command the device to do the exact action that you want. So it's a much more intentional flow to things. Not for everybody, but again, I'm not super keen on the idea of, hey, it got prompted to do something and then it's downloading an app and I'm like, oh, I don't want that app. Yeah. Now, let's chat about the history of Ledger when it comes to things like data breaches, which have unfortunately happened. In 2020, there was a large breach of their customer database, and things like phone numbers, emails, and in some cases, personal addresses were leaked. The fallout from that is still happening today. People getting phishing emails, trying to fool them into relinquishing their private keys, which have worked in some instances. People getting phone calls from scammers, people getting sometimes physical mail to their homes that are trying to coerce them to do something or fool them into doing something. Even I myself was caught up in this from previous devices that I bought to experiment with. And not too long ago, I received a phone call, somebody pretending to be Google trying to get into my account. When I called them on it and hung up, they called me back and they specifically threatened physical violence to get a hold of my crypto. So I'm nearly certain this is because of the data breach from Ledger, because it's not the first instance of things like this happening. With that said, it's not left a very good taste in my mouth. Now, if Ledger were to change course and start making changes, things I would love to see are, number one, making things open source so that people can see what is going on in basically every aspect outside of course, the secure element, which cannot be open source. That's just the nature of a secure element chip on a device like this. The other thing, I would love to just be able to turn off all of the altcoin staking, everything, and have a Bitcoin-centric kind of view with the Ledger Live software. I would also love a Bitcoin-only firmware option for this device. I would also, I've got a laundry list here. I would also love the idea that I wouldn't have to use the Ledger Live software at all, and I could just air gap it and perhaps get the firmware on an SD card or something and use a dongle to plug it into the side of the device to update. So these are a number of things that I would love to see, air gapping, things like that. I'm not beyond looking at Ledger devices in the future if a number of these things change. However, right now, this is not a device that's going to be in my arsenal of tools that I use for using Bitcoin and securing it. If you're watching this and you're panicking and I need to switch it, don't panic. I don't think you're going to lose your funds tomorrow or something because you're on a ledger. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just pointing out things that have been issues or that have irked me in terms of ledger, or that I think that you should at least consider. But again, go out, do your own research, come to your own conclusions. If you're trying to decide if you are deciding on switching, what you might want to look at, ask the questions: is it open source? Can you air gap it? Is it Bitcoin only, or does it at least have a Bitcoin only firmware option? Things like this that you may be looking for in a hardware device. And does it have a proprietary app that you have to use, or can you use something different right out the gate as soon as you set up the device? Plenty more to touch on here, but these are my general thoughts. Please let me know what you think in the comments and questions down below. Of course, I'm a huge fan of things like Coldcard, but there's lots of other options out there to take a peek at. Peruse the channel, see the other devices that I've done videos on, and see what might be best for you. If you decide to go with a ledger, that is still totally okay. That is your own decision. I just want people to consider some of the things that I've said here before making that leap. Anyways, let me know your thoughts down below, and let's wrap this thing up. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please do like, subscribe, and especially share. You can help me spread Bitcoin knowledge around the globe and help people level up. If you can, hit up those previously mentioned sponsors in the show notes down below. And if you need some help using this or any other alternatives in setting up your Bitcoin security, reach out to my team at bitcoinmentor.io, where you can book private one-on-one education sessions. Keep stacking sats, keep stacking skills. I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. This was your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.